from the United States Capitol's Congressional Auditorium in Washington, D.C., the Government Blockchain Association presents The Future of Money, Governance, and the Law.
Okay, so we're really at the awards ceremony part of this conference. This year we actually have had the opportunity to create 4 new awards. And to actually make the announcement, talk about each of them, I'm going to bring out Robert Levin. Robert?
So it's my distinguished pleasure to now announce in the next 45-50 minutes the winners of the 2020 Blockchain Awards. Just a couple of words about myself. I'm CEO of Emerging Star Digital, and I'm going to be your Master of Ceremonies. I would say that what I'm most proud of is being a member of the World Economic Forum's Technology Pioneer Awards 2008 for Artificial Intelligence on Mobile. Before that, I had a career in the hedge fund world as a macroeconomist, and I was an adjunct professor of finance at Columbia Business School and a professor of political economy, and I wrote the first best-selling biography of Bill Clinton. So we have 4 awards tonight. We're going to be rapidly going through them, presenting engraved awards. The first for leadership, the second for innovation, social impact, and courage. First, I'd like to introduce our GBA awards. Judges: Andrew Gillick, Brian Nielsen, Eric Guthrie, Marquis Allen, Shauna Hoffman, and Luisa Marcel Lacuna. Please join me in an applause for our judges. So last week in Davos, where I've been continuing to attend events of the World Economic Forum, I had the pleasure of meeting Brian Telebi, a brilliant and visionary CEO of an artificial intelligence firm that is integrating AI into the blockchain. So he will be introducing the Brian Telebi Social Impact Award for 2020 to the winner, and we will be unveiling those winners through the envelopes, just like an Academy Award. So the first Social Impact Award, which I'll announce in a minute through Brian, he will come up to stage, and I would like now you to give a warm welcome to Brian Telebi. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So first of all, let's all hear it for Robert and the GBA, yes? So I was born in a tiny village with no running water and no electricity out in the southeastern desert of Iran. Now, we were really fortunate, and I don't see the clicker here. We were really fortunate because the government of Iran wanted to execute my whole family. And so as a result, we escaped across the border into Turkey, where we lived in a refugee camp for several years until we got our political asylum and came to the United States. Now, the reason I say that, this is clearly not working here. There we go. The reason I said I was so fortunate earlier is because suddenly I had access to the American education system and access to opportunity. And so I didn't really understand the language or the culture. I didn't really have any friends. So I taught myself quantum mechanics and differential equations in middle school, as one does. I began working at NASA when I was 16 on the Constellation X project, and started my first company in college, started a second company in my 20s that I sold. And the reason I tell you all this is because then I got a chance to go back to Iran to visit the village where I was born. And that was a profound experience for me because I ran into all the kids that I used to play with when I was 4, and now we're all adults. They were all illiterate, they were sheep herders and goat herders, and they spent 3 hours trying to convince me that the earth is in the center of the universe. That hit me like a visceral punch in the gut because that made me question some things. It made me ask, what would have happened if Elon or Newton or Marie Curie were born in a refugee camp or in sub-Saharan Africa somewhere and didn't have access to the education opportunities that they had? It made me wonder, how many amazing, brilliant people do we miss? How many people are robbed of the opportunity to impact the world around them? Now, last week, global leaders, CEOs, presidents of countries, and a few technology pioneers had a chance to get together in Davos for the World Economic Forum, and we discussed the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And one of the things that I shared from stage is that we're behind. We're behind our goals to hit by 2030. Now, we have an opportunity to hit them if we all work together, but the truth is, part of the reason I'm speaking here at the Capitol is because without US leadership, we won't get there. And so our distinguished guests here, members of the technology community, members of the Senate and the House of Representatives and their staff, members of different agencies within the US government, it's incumbent on us to work together to tackle all these intractable problems that we face as a human race. So that's what I wanted to chat with you guys about today. Look, right now, across the world, 6.6% of the global population has a college degree. Now, we can have a conversation about whether having a college degree is the best KPI to use, and I would probably agree with you that it's not, but let's put that aside for the time being, because it's the closest one we have right now. What happens when we 10x that number? What happens when we 10x the number of scientists and researchers and doctors and professors and engineers and computer developers? What happens when we stop squandering over 90% of the intellectual capital of the human race? So that's why I believe Sustainable Development Goal number 4, education, underlies solving all of the most intractable problems that we face. So what we did at Ahura AI is we invented technology that enables people to learn 3 to 5 times faster than traditional education at 1/10 of the price. We've provided customization and personalization across the entire chain. So we do this by collecting over 10,000 biometric data points every second off of every user so that we can identify the optimal way to deliver information to an individual in real time. Because it turns out from all the research we've done that everything from your nutritional intake, your sleep patterns, your activity level, even the last fight you had with your significant other, all impact the optimal way for an individual to absorb information, remember it, and retain it. Now, right now, I'm sure you guys are all well aware, we're in what's called the 4th Industrial Revolution. What that means, according to McKinsey and Boston Consulting Group and CB Insight and Gardner and all these guys, we're about to lose 800 million to 2 billion jobs internationally over the next 5 to 10 years. That number here in the United States is 49 million. To put that in perspective, that's a 38% unemployment rate if we don't retrain this population. Now, what does that mean? Back in 2009, we had a 10% unemployment rate and our economy ground to a halt, right? Back in the 1920s, we had a 25% unemployment rate and we had tent cities and mass suffering. We're talking about a 38% unemployment rate. Now, I'm a student of history, and if we look back to the past industrial revolutions, we always had 1 to 2 generations to retrain the population. This time we have 5 to 10 years. So how do we solve that problem? I believe we can solve it working together. So last week at the World Economic Forum in Davos, I announced the official launch of Ahura AI. We are launching with a handful of technology companies to retrain the employees that are being replaced by artificial intelligence and automation. We are taking on waitlist customers for $100, refundable, if you want to be part of the early adopters that get to use the technology. Now, I thought about bringing on a truck on stage and shattering a couple windows, but it's already been done. Brilliant marketing, though, right? But instead, what I'm offering is the ability to get locked into early pricing, much better pricing that you can be grandfathered into long-term for the folks that want to be a part of our journey right from the beginning. Now, one of the other things I wanted to announce is we partnered with the Africa 10 initiative, which was founded by my friend Kojo Annan and his late father, the former Secretary General of the United Nations, Kofi Annan. So we're rolling out our technology for free to 30,000 Africans in Ghana who are 25 to 35 years old and don't have jobs. We have a partnership with Hugo as well to get them jobs after they finish the training. For every license that we sell to corporates, we give away 1 license to members of underserved communities globally. I just also closed that I want to announce tonight a deal with the heiress Paula Schwartz, who runs Datanomics. It's an incredible new way of looking at the economy of data, and we're rolling out our technology across refugee camps in Greece as well in support of that. Now, thank you. Now, the goal is to have a much bigger impact. So in 2021, I want you to join me to enable us to roll out our technology for free to 3 million members of underserved communities globally, some here in the United States in ghettos or in minority communities. Now, I want to take a moment and speak with you guys about ethics, because right now there's a massive issue with artificial intelligence and data. I think we all understand that there are different perspectives of data agency and ownership. Our friends in China have a different perspective. They believe that all of that data should be given to the government to be used for their social credit system or for propaganda. We know our friends at Russia that are doing interesting things with it, with Cambridge Analytica. That was all in the news. I think it's incumbent on us as investors, as tech entrepreneurs, as members of the leadership of the country to take this into account in all of our decision-making processes of what kind of organizations do we engage with? Do we hold corporations to a higher standard of what they're doing with their data? Now, my dear friend, Brittany Kaiser, has launched the Own Your Data initiative, and I highly support her. I hope you guys support her as well. The Omidyar Network has the governance structure around the Race to the Top initiative. My friend Jim Clark runs the International Congress for the Governance of Artificial Intelligence. I think these are all incredibly important organizations, and I think part of it is we all have to do our part. It's not something that they can do on their own. Now, one of the other announcements that we made is that for all the data that we collect, because it's 10,000 data points a second off of every user, we have made legally binding commitments that we won't sell this to governments and we won't use it for advertising unless there are explicit agreements with the user so they have 100% agency over their data, how it's sold and to whom it's sold, and simultaneously, they get the majority of the revenue that's generated from the sale of that data. And so in that way, thank you. And I challenge other tech leaders to follow suit and make similar pledges. Now, we have a partnership now with an organization that's run by Amit Pradhan, who runs Rainfall. It's a blockchain initiative that enables people to have full 100% agency over their data. And they're able to then sell that data through the platform to whomever they want. Now, in their initial tests, they've been able to generate over $200 per user per month that they get in their bank. Now, that might not be a lot to some of us, but for someone in a refugee camp or in a ghetto or in a village in sub-Saharan Africa or in a slum in India, $200 a month per person can be fairly radical. And so we are announcing our partnership with them to provide what we like to call universal earned income. Now, if you want to join us, my name is Brian Tolaby. Feel free to go to our website if you want to join our journey. But now is the time for bold action. Now is the time for radical innovation. Now is the time for us to invest our resources to make sure that we create the future that we can all be proud of.
Ryan, thank you so much.
In that light, I want to introduce these. Go ahead.
Well, first we're going to just define social impact, which is the effect that an individual and organization's actions have on the well-being of a community, society, or world at large. Social impact must improve the conditions around the current situation and bring a significant positive change to the problem. It's similar to the social good, but the change is much more significant and drastic. Tackling symptoms of problems like social injustice, poverty, environmental degradation, climate change requires massive coordination, global coordination. That's why we go to Davos, to be part of a stakeholder multilateral engagement. And tackling all of these problems and getting the results is called social impact. And there's a whole social impact investment community of over $1 trillion, and we're part of that community. So we now have a vision of what social impact is. With that, would you like to ask for anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Can I have the
envelope?
The envelope, please.
Yes.
Thank you. So I would like to announce the 2020 GBA winner of the Social Impact Award, and it is Bobby Muscara. Now, Bobby is a director of education for Ledger Academy and Blockchain Training Center in downtown Princeton, New Jersey. She is the organizer of the Princeton Meetup with over 1,500 members and regular sessions at the Ledger Academy offices in Tiger Labs. She is also the chairperson of the Hyperledger Learning Materials Development Working Group and a member of the Hyperledger Social Impact Special Interest Group. She's also the project manager for Princeton's The Giving Chain, a social impact project to change the local charity giving model. She organized the collection and delivery of 100+ giving bags of food to local banks and homeless shelters. So please help me congratulate Bobby.
Hi. Oh, thank you. This is beautiful. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Should we
Thank
take one award photo?
Right turn at this.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Perfect, all right, ready? And one more.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Bobby Mascara, and I want to thank the GBA for this honor. I did a project this summer. It started with the local groups in Princeton. We have meetup groups, we meet, we talk blockchain, we talk blockchain, we talk blockchain. This summer, we decided to do blockchain. We didn't know what that meant, but we decided we were going to give it a try. So we decided to do a summer project. If you go to the next slide, please. So who we are, again, we can do this real fast. We were the 3 meetups in Princeton. If you could just click through this slide. Where is the clicker? I have it. So it's the 3 meetup groups that meet, and we formed a company called BC Princeton for the summer. And what we did was, we sat down and we wanted to do something impactable with our groups this summer. So we looked at social impact and blockchain in the areas that it affected. The first one was philanthropy and remittances. So you can track where your donations go now and not have to worry about fraud in that system. Financial empowerment, it means microloans and microfinancing and identifying people so that they can get these loans and financing. Identity and land rights, you have to have an identity to prove you own something. Governance and democracy, we heard a lot of talks today about voting. You can go anywhere with blockchain in that. And supply chain and environmental protections. So what we did was we decided to pick on the supply chain and the philanthropy, the remittance problem. What we did was we had 6 checkpoints that we went through the summer. We broke out into groups, and what we came up was the giving chain, which is a model for redoing the local giving charity system. So we called it the giving chain, and it uses blockchain technology to develop an agile and transparent system for local charity giving. And what that means is that we want to have the donors, the drivers, and the recipients who don't know each other be able to deal with each other in a trustless environment. So the business end, you just saw, we had to get partnerships with food banks, lots of other different people, which I'll go into in a minute. And we created this application. So if you have something that you want to donate, you put it in a giving bag, and the giving bag has a tag on it, a barcode. You go to the app on your phone and create a ticket. So you would have this app and say, I have an asset, and you would create the asset. Then you would alert the truckers, or who's ever in the system, that an asset is available to be picked up. They then accept the asset and pick it up. Then they alert the people who are in the system who are recipients. They see that there's something to be picked up, they accept it, and it gets delivered. That's the theory behind the giving chain. So we met all summer long. We had intensive groups. We broke out into business groups, technical groups. We had youth groups. And our point was, how can we do this? So what is it we're going to help with? Coincidentally, my 16-year-old son was at a paintball party, and I had to sit with the proprietor while they were out paintballing. And he was a retired military man who, after talking to him, spends most of his time collecting food and delivering it to homeless veterans in our area. And I'm like, homeless veterans in our area? We're in Princeton. What are you talking about? And he's like, yes, they exist. There's just no facilities for them in small towns. So he gathers whatever he can, and he delivers them to these people who are off the grid. They don't have identity. They don't have a lot of things that people take for granted. So we got together with, we got the giving bags. You saw the giving bags. And again, people who helped us with the project, we put their names on the giving bag. We collected food. We got youth organizations, which was really important. We got the Alliance of Youth Leaders of the United States. We got some gymnastics teams, a whole mess of different people to gather food for us at the collection locations. We had the local farmer. So here was our problem. So I talked to this gentleman who's delivering this food to this homeless, and I'm talking to these people in New Jersey, and if you've ever been in New Jersey in August, you know there's a lot of tomatoes around, a lot of everything around, because it's very fruitful. And the farmers don't know what to do with their excess. So we decided to put the two together, the farmers with the homeless vets who are hungry. So we had a collection day, go through that one quick, at our office, and we gathered all the food and the supplies that we collected. And the most impactful part of this project was the kids that were involved. We brought our kids over, we sat them down with all the food we collected, gave them 35 giving bags, and said, if you were homeless, what would you want in that bag from this stuff? And they actually had to think of canned foods, soap, toothpaste, and so they packed these bags specifically for those homeless veterans. We made a mural to show our giving hands. We transported the stuff to the food bank, and we delivered 650 pounds of food to the food bank. We delivered the 35 giving bags to this gentleman who I met at that paintball party, and he dispersed them to people in need, and we were very happy with our project. Now, the technology behind it, I'm going to do this real fast because I know I have no time, was basically the Hyperledger Sawtooth platform. We just copied their code and took out their tuna and put in our giving bags and traced it on the blockchain with these views. And basically I'm not going to go through this at all. You can end the presentation. Yes, that's it for me. So I want to thank everybody, especially the vets who give so much to us. If we can give back a little, we should. So just ask, what can this new technology, how can it be used to help your local community? So I really thank you for this award, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So while I'm logging back in, I'd like to, again, thank you for your patience, because we're going to have Tim Draper in about 38 minutes. So we're going to skip through some of our slides. Let me just, 1 second. Okay. So just a 30-second announcement regarding our app built by Greg Magershak as a sponsor of the GBA app for this event management. There's no need to scan all of your business cards after the conference. You can simply connect to the GBA.community app built by Cubics and follow right up on the app with anyone you meet here. So the GBA.community was built by Cubics. Greg, please stand up. Is he here? No. Oh, there you are. Thank you. If you want to have an app built for your own events, your own organization, in your bag you'll find a Cubics 50% discount. Please use it. Congratulations. Thank you. So now I'd like to present the next award for leadership. So Mahatma Gandhi once said, a sign of a good leader is not how many followers you have, but how many leaders you create. He also said, first they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. So we know that leadership is tough. It requires taking constructive criticism, sometimes biting unfair, untrue criticism, and also slogging through uncertainty. So leadership is the act of leading a group of people or an organization, and this award for leadership acknowledges and celebrates exemplary leadership that has a significant and positive impact on advancing the theory, practice of blockchain technology. And leadership, as you know, requires the ability to create and implement a vision and lead the team and allocate tasks and hold people accountable. The award recognizes those who demonstrate leadership on their team that is an impactful, motivational, and consistent style of leadership, providing freedom of thought, resources, support, encouragement, and challenges. It requires setting bold goals and having an imagination. And Albert Einstein celebrated imagination, said creativity without imagination is just facts. So I'd like to now skip ahead and have the envelope, please. Thank you. So the 2020 Leadership Award for the Government Blockchain Association goes to Amelia Powers Gardner, and I'd like to read her bio very briefly. Hold on. So, 1 second. So Amelia Powers Gardner is the Utah County Clerk, Auditor for Utah County in Utah, and prior to being elected to the Utah County Clerk as an auditor, Amelia was an account executive for Caterpillar and was a small business consultant. Since being elected, Amelia has received national recognition for her election reforms and innovations in government. In addition to being the only county clerk in Utah to administer a ranked choice election, she completed online digital marriage licenses for the first time, online, on a mobile app. Amelia continues to receive local and national attention for improving efficiencies and increasing election security. Amelia Powers Gardner is a proud mother of 6 children. She's married to her husband, Tobin Gardner, and lives in Pleasant Grove, Utah. Please join me in a warm welcome for Amelia Powers Gardner, the winner of the Leadership Award for 2020. Thank you. Congratulations.
So, first, thank you so much for this award. Thank you to Gerard and Robert and Brian and everybody at GBA. I think this conference has been fantastic. I'm very honored to receive the award for leadership. Utah was settled in 1847 by pioneers who trailed overland, blazing trails to find their eventual home. One of those pioneers was a man named Williams Clayton, whose journey found the need to track the miles he traveled. His device, the wagon odometer, was the first modern odometer, and we use that technology every day. Less than 100 years later, a 14-year-old boy named Philo T. Farnsworth had an idea that eventually led him to invent the television. Philo's statue is in this great building in the United States Capitol for his achievement. Less than 50 years after Philo, 2 Utahns from my county, Alan Ashton and Bruce Bastian, they developed the very first microcomputer-based word processing system and founded WordPerfect. They changed the way that every one of us works every day. Each of us stands here today on the shoulders of the pioneers who blazed trails that we've followed. Those trails were blazed out of a combination of necessity, vision, and courage. I'm privileged to come from a long line of trailblazers. William Brewster, who was on the Mayflower and helped to write the Mayflower Compact, is my 11th great-grandfather. There's a mural in the rotunda of this building that has William Brewster's picture on it holding that Mayflower Compact. 200 years later, some of my family walked on foot over 1,200 miles to find the Salt Lake Valley and find their new home. A few years after that, a woman from Utah cast the very first female vote in United States history. I'm proud of my pioneer ancestry, and I am not afraid to be a modern-day pioneer in our digital world. The innovations of tomorrow and the future applications of blockchain technology will come when we identify needs, have vision to solve those needs, and the courage to push boundaries. In my office, my team identified several ways that there were needs that the public was demanding. One of those was that our citizens overseas and our disabled citizens needed a better way to vote. But digital voting is incredibly controversial. And so it necessitated the use of blockchain technology to bring transparency and verifiability to those votes. Another need that we identified was that there are many couples who get married and they need a copy of their marriage license within hours of saying their vows. We found a way to use Titan Seal to put that marriage license on the blockchain and create a digital copy that can be administered to them within minutes. These solutions all meet a need. When we identify needs, we need to have bold and ambitious visions to meet them. If we truly care about our fellow men, then we must recognize that technology is a blessing whose goal is to increase the quality of life for humanity, and we must marshal its power to improve the lives of those around us. I have bold vision. Don't let anyone tell you something isn't possible. Continue to share and implement your vision. In our department, there were many who were skeptical. However, when you lead, you must recruit allies to your vision. You have to be the recruiter and champion in chief. Help potential allies see your vision. Lastly, you must be brave and courageous. Early adopters, we do not have the proactive blessing of being incumbent witnesses. We have to be active participants in the process itself. Pioneers carry a torch for the rest of the world to follow. Blockchain is the future, and now is the time for the pioneers of the next technological revolution to grab a torch. Utah is ready to lead. I'm ready to pick up a torch and lead. Who among you is ready to pick up a torch and lead with me? Thank you. Thank you.
So another round of applause for Amelia Powers Gardner for leadership. Thank you, Amelia. So it's now my distinct honor to introduce a new award for the Government Blockchain Association, which is the Annual Achievement Award for Innovation. And Albert Einstein once said, to raise new questions, new possibilities, to regard old problems from a new angle requires creative imagination and marks real advance in science. He filed one of his first patents in 1903, and we're still feeling the effects of the relativity and other discoveries today. So we now know that the tradition of innovation that started with Albert Einstein in a patent office in Switzerland, which I've actually been to, is continuing today with the Government Blockchain Association with blockchain innovation. So this innovation concept is turning an idea or invention into a product or service that creates value for people or organizations. We're looking at the Blockchain Association from the point of view of the application of blockchain-related ideas that are novel and useful, but also applied and scaled. These ideas must further satisfy the needs and expectations of users in the public, because we're dealing with public-to-government relationships. And as you know, government has had a long-term, several-decade decline in trust. So there's an opportunity by leaders and innovators to increase the trust between people and the governed by increasing transparency, increasing immutability of records, and increasing decentralization of power. And we all know what the concentration of power means in America. It means that we're more distant from the people with the innovative solutions. So we need to harvest solutions and innovations from every corner of the globe and every corner of the United States. So we're part of that effort. So innovation is also about staying relevant, and in this time of unprecedented change, it's very helpful if we have adaptive innovation that really responds to human needs and customer needs. So with that, I'd like to have the envelope, please, for the Innovation Award. Thank you. So the 2020 Innovation Award for the Government Blockchain Association goes to Frank Ricotta. And I'll read his bio. Welcome, Frank. Frank Ricotta is the CEO and co-founder of Burst IQ, a healthcare-focused global network that connects businesses and people through the power of the blockchain. Burst IQ is the first blockchain company to deploy a HIPAA and GDPR-compliant blockchain solution, the first blockchain company to be listed as a preferred partner with the International Trade Administration of the United States government, and the first blockchain company to be accepted into the United Nations Global Compact. Frank's career achievements span multiple industries, including defense, healthcare, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and finance. He holds numerous patents in the field of cybersecurity and machine intelligence. Please join me in a warm welcome for Frank Ricotta, the Innovation Award.
Those are awesome. Thanks.
So once you can stand in front of that.
Stand right over here and we'll get us a picture.
Frank, please take the stage.
I got to put that over there so I don't break it, because my wife was around. That's what she would tell me to do. So I mean, it's hard to follow the previous two, but and they were awesome and inspiring. Thanks. I'd also like to thank GBA. It truly is an honor and very humbling to be up here, as well as Dr. Wendy Charles, who nominated without me knowing about it. And of course, you never get here by yourself. I have a great co-founder in Brian Jackson and just an amazing team with the Burst IQ team, and I wouldn't be who I am, without the love and support of my wife. I can't tell you how long she'd kicked me there too. So she really is a fun and wonderful person. But we started Burst IQ in 2015 with a singular premise. At the end of the day, we wanted to help make the world a healthier place. I mean, it sounds simple and a little corny, but that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to do more than just build another tech company. And we've done a few of those. And that is still our guiding light. As a global society, we are definitely experiencing a transformational shift in our understanding of health. We are coming to an understanding that health is not limited to traditional health care. Instead, health is a reflection of our individual and collective stories. Social, behavioral, environmental, education, financial, spiritual, and even our omics. As the world becomes more and more interconnected, as the world becomes smaller, these stories weave together to capture a much broader view of all the diverse factors that impact our health. As individuals, we are learning more about ourselves through precision medicine innovations that allow us to understand how we are built and how our body's functioning. We're learning more our bodies. And of course, AI and machine intelligence. As an industry, we are challenged to enable this interconnectivity and to capture the insights that can be gained from it while respecting the inherent dignity, sovereignty, value, and rights of each and every person. And I would see where individual privacy and ownership rights are respected, incentives are aligned, and trust is inherent. You know, we accepted this challenge of Birth IQ and set out. As a company, we provide the foundational technology infrastructure to empower. I talk about connections and not just data. See, our HIPAA and GDPR compliant platform creates immutable health profiles of people, places, and things, but more importantly, empowers the connections between them at scale. We help digital innovators, governments, and businesses build connections with people and each other, unlocking hidden intelligence through the power of connected data. At our core, we do two things really, really well. We can connect large disparate data sets. They don't have to be owned by the same person. And we are able to handle complex and granular consent. In other words, putting the power back to the individual. You know, I can geek out and talk about our technology for days and how we fill some of the gaps in the current blockchain protocol stack. I could talk about our challenges, starting with people looking at us as if we were really a bunch of blockheads when we talked about blockchain when we started the company. I can also talk about the challenges of fundraising. Blockchain funds that are deathly afraid of health, and health-focused funds that had no clue of what blockchain was all about. And special thanks to First Mile Ventures, who provided our initial seed round when we started in 2015. It wasn't much, but it got us started. And of course, Elsewhere Partners helped us close our Series A back in September. You know, I can also talk about our experience with regulators, both on the fintech side and the health side, because that, as you've heard, is a constant theme. It's important. So we work not only in the U.S., but we work with the OECD and a number of smaller sovereign nations. I could talk about our first, as Gerard mentioned, the first blockchain company to enter in a strategic partner with the International Trade Administration, the first to be admitted in the UN Global Compact, and the first to market with a production-ready platform. And again, thanks to our very first customer, Empiric Health, who's driving tens of millions of dollars out of the current U.S. health systems. But if I went into all that, I know I'm going to bore you. It's at the end of the day. So rather than that, and since we are a blockchain-focused event, I want to hit a couple of the themes, some of which you heard throughout the day. And I'd like to address these comments to you with the remainder of this time. It's true, blockchains are networks, and networks create connections, and connections drive. In the health space, yes, blockchains are still networks. Networks still create connections, but those connections build communities, and it's communities that create the markets. Communities of care and individuals and care coordination all come together to drive change, create movements, disruption, and even foster compassion. Compassion. For us, see, there's one more thing in our ingredient that's emerged, and that's hope. And that's hope. Hope that I can make a difference. Hope that I me, Frank. No, far from it. Together, what we can do together. You know, what lifts my heart more than I can convey is that we are a community that builds hope, builds communities of hope. That's amazing to me. Simply amazing. It's more than I could ever imagine, more than any business success would give me. You know, blockchain is special. You know, it's special not because of the technology. We've heard a lot of that. You know, it's special because of the power of the culture behind it. The power of that culture. A culture of individual empowerment, shared incentive, inclusion, privacy, and more. You know, the internet didn't become the internet because of technology. That was part of it, of course. It became the internet because of zealots and evangelists that saw a future of connectedness, a future of connectedness. See, you and me and all of us in this space are the next generation of evangelists and zealots. See, it's up to us. It's up to you to build the next generation of the internet, because that is what blockchain is. Do it knowing this. Do it knowing this. You really can make a difference. for yourselves, for your family, for your communities, and yes, even for the world. But here is the fundamental key to all of it. It's fundamental. You have to believe you can do it, and you just have to start with where you are. You have to start with where you are. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you, and thank you again for the award.
Please join me in applause for Frank. Thank you very much. Excellent job, Frank. Congratulations. So we're somewhere in the early years of the fourth industrial revolution. Within 5 to 20 years, overlapping with the fourth industrial revolution, will be the fifth industrial revolution. And that, I predict, will include quantum computing, because all of our computers are vulnerable and have to be quantum resistant to quantum computing, and we now have achieved quantum dominance in the United States, and China is competing with us for quantum dominance. Again, these are computers at sub-zero temperatures that have massive petabyte brute force to break encryption, essentially. So this would be a tragedy for privacy in the United States. It would be a tragedy for HIPAA. It would be a tragedy for democracy. So we have to defend our blockchains against quantum attacks in the next 10 years, and we have to do so with encryption that's very strong. In the meantime, we're about to start a new award, the fourth award, which is called the Courage Award. Nelson Mandela, who obviously epitomizes courage, said that I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over fear. The brave man is not the one who does not feel afraid, but he or she who conquers that fear. So we know that he was in prison for a long time before he became president of South Africa. We know that courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyway, according to John Wayne. All of you have demonstrated courage in your life in small ways and big ways. The blockchain challenges traditional paradigms and norms that many hold today, and most people do not understand the impact of blockchain or distributed ledger technology. Others may understand it. Most of you in this room understand it deeply and are leaders in the space. Others who are not here may misunderstand it or stereotype it and feel threatened by it. There's a great potential for opposition, fear, and doubt. Sometimes navigating uncharted waters means taking risks for a vision that no one else sees. When Robert Kennedy was in South Africa in 1968, he said, "Each time a man stands up for an ideal or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth the tiny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring will sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance." So courage in the 21st century is speaking up for what you believe, because it must be said, no matter what the cost, even at the risk of retaliation and political retaliation. We know that John F. Kennedy, with the help of Ted Sorensen, wrote Profiles in Courage. What we need in this institution is more political courage. We have it in spades in both houses of Congress. It's time to use it. We'd like to see the blockchain be a truth machine, not only for the United States government, but for the people of the United States and for people all over the world. So courageous people are always willing to endure personal sacrifice for the betterment of others and to defend values such as liberty, honesty, justice, and truth. So that's the value of the 2020 Courage Award. And now I'd like to ask for the envelope, please. Thank you. I'd like to announce the winner of the 2020 Achievement Award for Courage of the Government Blockchain Association. Please join me in welcoming a warm applause for Carlos Torriella. Carlos, congratulations. Okay. So Carlos Torriello, who's standing to my left, worked during the national elections of Guatemala, June 16, 2019, as an officially accredited election witness, when very publicly the elections collapsed. This occurred despite Guatemala being widely touted around Latin America as one of the most trustworthy elections in the region. He organized dozens of developers into the fiscal digital movement of Guatemala to volunteer tirelessly in order to produce an audit that would verify the results of the Guatemalan election of last June. So this digital movement, which he founded, called the Fiscal Digital Movement, could verify the results instantly using a blockchain. His official accreditation unmasked him in public, and the authorities he became the only public face of this previously anonymous effort for election security and election justice. The movement, this democratic movement, persisted and has now had an official audience on February 7th next week with election authorities that will finally incorporate blockchain into the heart of the national Guatemalan systems. For that, we owe him a great debt of gratitude, and I'd like to applaud him for his leadership and his courage. Thank you. And please join me at the stage and to receive the award. Congratulations. Carlos, so would you like to?
There's a lot that I'd like to share. I hope you're all going to the party later. I read something during my first year in history class at UNC Chapel Hill that stuck with me. Each one of us, if he can learn to make use of the unprecedented tools now within his reach, can exercise a significant influence both on his contemporaries and on future generations. I am just a community organizer, the first node through which the transactions that actually build the value pass through, and nothing else. As you'll hear later on, I hope, there's a lot going on under our hood, and I can't do any of it. The code was a Connect 4 program my senior year in college. It was actually pretty crappy. Still passed the class. What I can be is persistent, and I will hold you to your word, following up insistently. This trophy may say my name, but it's the achievement of dozens of people standing on the shoulders of giants, and I have to thank all of them now. Start with the giants. Satoshi Nakamoto. Too much to say, so in a summary, quote, The Times, 03/Jan/2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks, end quote. Arturo Gerbrucher Asturias, for risking everything to put the ballots into our hands. Andrew Yang, for risking everything to put the money in our hands. The Yang Gang, for giving new meaning to the words, never doubt a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens in the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Agua Limpia Ya, the movement that fights to save Lake Atitlan before it dies, realizing that Guatemala's soul and its future would die along with it. Joe Rogan, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Wenceslao Casares, Andreas Antonopoulos, Juan Guaidó, Jacqueline Novogratz, Luis von Ahn, Marcos Andrés Antil, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Richard Garfield, Shigeru Miyamoto, Tim Berners-Lee, Vitalik Buterin, and Dan Larimer. For leading by example. If possible, I'd love just 5 minutes of your time. If you hear me out, you'll see that if we collaborate, we could count the votes together for the entire planet and everyone in it. Now, our users, all 15,000 plus of them, 1,500 plus of them, whose citizens were those that realized that a screen won't tell you the truth and decided to break out their laptops and count the votes together. Andres Jimenez from Ustela, our Jedi statistics, big data, and social media content. Enrique Escamps Lorenzana and his students at Apitech Software Development School. Teenagers learn by building our back end. Esteban de la Peña and the team of Decentralized Technologies, the first respondents to our bat signal, confirming we weren't crazy. The remaining 2 anonymous members, give it up for our favorite front-end Mexicans and the Venezuelan. Gustavo González, Sergio Valle, Cristian Lowenthal, Leo Aguilar, Rodrigo La Peña, Mario Anita Aguiluz, Ulrich Schrimmer, Carlos Camey, Ana Pinillos, Votos Cabales, Javier Borrayos, Luz Token Team, Luis Pedro Reyes, El Lado Creativo, Ana Cristina Ayala, Álvaro Anmela Solmegli, Luis Pedro Reyes en el lado creativo, fiscal multipartidario Anmadel Méndez, my teachers, especially those in civics, particularly Edgar Vallejo in middle school, may he rest in peace, who clarified that matter of luck, but character will define your legacy. And with 7 seconds, thanks to all the sponsors and everyone, and my group had a song for you. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Carlos. That was wonderful. I want to congratulate again all 4 winners of the awards and for courage, innovation, leadership, and social impact. I also want to thank the judges and